My name is Karl Johnson, and I'm 78 years old. I used to build bridges, both literal and human. I'm a retired engineer, a veteran, a husband, a father of 3, and a grandfather of 5. I live alone now in an old house on the outskirts of Chicago, where every wall bears the marks of children's laughter and sleepless nights. My wife, Martha, passed away 5 years ago. Life has been quiet ever since. I left my heart in this house. I built it with my own hands in 1972, when Martha and I were just starting out together. The walls still smell of her favorite vanilla. But it's too quiet now. The children, John, Linda, and Michael, are long gone. They all have families, careers, and businesses. We used to see each other every week. Now, if John comes once a month, that's a blessing. I don't blame them, life moves on. But lately, I've begun to feel like I've become a burden. Once, when I asked Michael to help me with my phone, he sighed and muttered, "Dad, you could just Google this, it's a small thing, but it stuck with me like a splinter." Linda, my only daughter, texts me more than she calls me. And my grandchildren, they don't seem to have any connection to me. To them, I'm just an old man sitting in the corner muttering about the past. Last week, I was in the grocery store. I was standing in line, leaning heavily on my cane, and I saw a young man behind me rolling his eyes impatiently, saying that the old man was digging too long. No one offered to help, no one smiled. On the contrary, they seemed annoyed by my existence. Sometimes I wonder, where has respect for the elderly gone? Once, in my youth, we treated our elders with respect. We listened to them. We learned from them. And now we are like useless, rusty remnants of the past. Every night I sit by the window with a cup of black coffee and watch the sun set. This is my favorite moment of the day, when the day fades and you are left alone with yourself. I am tormented by the thought that I did something wrong. Was I a good father? Did I teach my children to love, respect, be grateful? I gave them everything, my strength, my youth, sleepless nights, years of hard work, so that they could have a better life. And now, when my hands are shaking and my back hurts with every step, it is as if I do not exist. And here I am. Alone. And I think about how life becomes a mirror, you see your past in it, but it does not always reflect what you expected. But I am still here. My mind is clear, although my body is aging. And this story is my attempt not just to remember, but to understand. Why do we grow old with a sense of loneliness? Why doesn't society see value in those who have carried it on their shoulders for decades? I begin this story not out of anger, but out of pain. And out of hope, that maybe someone will read these lines and remember their grandfather or grandmother. We'll call. We'll ask, "How are you?" Because sometimes these 2 words are enough to fill an old person's world with meaning. I remember my first day at Midwest Structures, a construction company. It was the summer of 1968, I had just returned from Vietnam, with a medal for bravery and a scar on my shoulder that still reminds me of that world. I was young, full of energy and belief that I could change the world. And you know, I did. The bridges I designed still stand in Chicago, in Springfield, in St. Louis. When I drive past them, my heart feels a little calmer. I left a mark. I remember how Martha and I raised our children with love and hard work. I would get up at 5 in the morning to be on time for work, and in the evening I would fix the crane, paint the fence, or play hide-and-seek with the children. We didn't have much money, but we had boundless devotion to each other. We never yelled at our children, even when it was difficult. I taught John how to hold a hammer, Michael how to fix a bicycle, and Linda how to be brave. I never missed a single one of their school concerts. I remember when Michael won the math competition, I cried like a baby. And when Linda first fell in love and came to me for advice, that's when I understood what it means to be a dad. Not just a breadwinner. Being a dad is looking into your child's eyes and knowing that you are her fortress. Her back. Her rear. When I retired, they threw me a party. Everyone applauded. They called me the best employee, father, friend. At that time, I thought, I lived my life for a reason. I was needed. Useful. Loved. The past smells fresh. It is warm, bright, filled with voices that are no longer heard. But at the same time it is a cruel contrast to the silence that surrounds me now. Now that I think about it all, it hurts to see how everything has changed. How those I protected have drifted away. How the value of a father's love has been reduced to the level of convenience, calling when you need something, coming only on holidays. I'm not complaining, I'm just remembering. Because sometimes memories are the only thing that keeps you on this shore of time. Real pain comes when it's unexpected. One fall morning I woke up with a sharp pain in my chest. I didn't immediately understand what was happening. I thought maybe it was the coffee on an empty stomach or a bad dream. But when the pain didn't go away and moved to my left arm, I knew it was something serious. I called John. He didn't answer. Then Michael, he hung up. Finally I called 911. I remember sitting on the kitchen floor, alone, clutching the phone, feeling the cold creeping up to my feet. At the hospital they said, a microinfarction. The doctor asked if I had anyone who could take me home. I thought, I have 3 children. But I said, no, I can handle it myself. After discharge, I sat in the house for a week, alone, in a blanket, looking at old photos. Linda called when she found out from John about the hospital. She asked, Dad, why didn't you tell us? I replied, why? You're busy anyway. She fell silent. And then she said, as if making excuses, you know, kids, work, life, my grandchildren are almost not interested in my existence. They are not attracted to communicating with a grandfather who doesn't know how to use TikTok or play new games. Once I heard, as the younger one, Jacob, said to his brother, why go to Grandpa's? He only tells boring stories. I often think about how elderly people get lost in public spaces. In stores, hospitals, pharmacies, we are not noticed. We are passed over, sighed when we are slow. We become transparent. This feeling erases your dignity. Sometimes I see how in lines they treat me with irritation. As if my aging is their problem. And I am just a person who lived, loved, worked. A person who lost. A person who still remembers. These trials are not only about the pain of the body. They are about the pain of the heart. About how the world forgets you. How your family, those for whom you lived, moves away while you slowly disappear into the shadows. One day, when it was still early spring outside, I decided to take a walk to the old park nearby. Martha and I used to take the kids there every Sunday to feed the ducks. I hadn't been there in years. My legs ached, but my soul begged for a change. I wanted to breathe in the air not through the window, but with my whole chest. I took my walking stick, put on my old cashmere hat, a gift from Linda for my 60th birthday, and went out. The park had hardly changed. The same benches. The same old wrought iron fence. The ducks, as before, were scurrying among the children, who were happily throwing crumbs. I sat down on a bench by the lake. I watched the sun break in the sparkling water, and suddenly I felt someone's gaze. I turned my head. Next to me was a man about 10 years younger than me. A book in his hand. A quiet smile on his face. Karl, he said suddenly. I was surprised. It's me, Sam Crawford. We worked together at Midwest Structures. Remember the bridge in St. Louis? I almost cried. I hadn't seen Sam since I retired. He was a junior engineer, always energetic, always with a joke on his lips. And here we were again, on the same bench, as if time had come full circle. We talked for 3 hours. We reminisced, laughed, shared our pain. It turned out that Sam also lived alone. His daughter was in California, rarely visited. His wife had died even before Martha. But there was something about him that was unbreakable. He wouldn't give up. I started leading meetings for people like us, Sam said. We meet every Wednesday at the library, we read, we drink tea, we tell stories. You have to come, Karl. You need it. I hesitated. I was used to my loneliness. It was like an old coat, heavy but familiar. But Sam looked me in the eye and added, we have something more to give to this world. Our stories, our experiences, our presence are valuable. I came the following Wednesday. And the next. And the next. There I met Anne, a former literature teacher, Jeremy, a veteran who had lost his son, and Mary, a former dancer. Each of them was a world full of tragedy, but also wisdom. And I began to feel alive again. One evening after such an encounter, I came home, sat down at the table, and for the first time in many years opened my notebook. I began to write. Not just remember, but write. My story. Not for fame. But for my grandchildren. For my children. For those who might one day open these pages and remember, that was my grandfather. After that chance meeting with Sam, something shifted in me. I no longer wanted to be just a silent observer of life. I wanted to live, in a new way, in my own way. And if once I was a bridge builder, now it's time to build a new bridge, between the past and the present. Between myself and the world. Meetings at the library became more than just a new habit for me, they took on a new meaning. Every Wednesday, I would get ready, as I used to do for an important meeting at work. I would put on my best shirt, brew a thermos of green tea, grab my notebook, and leave the house with the special purpose of being among those who listen and are listened to. I was needed again. Not as a patient, not as an old father, not as a memory, but as a living person with his own thoughts, experiences, pains, and hopes. One day, Anne told me, Karl, you should write a memoir. The way you tell stories is not just memories. It's lessons. It's a story that needs to be told. And I agreed. I started writing from morning until lunch. It wasn't always easy. There were days when my hands hurt, when the words wouldn't obey. But in those days I remembered teaching John to turn the nuts on his first bicycle, holding Linda when she had the measles, sitting by Martha's bedside at night when she was losing strength. I endured then, I will endure now. I created a manuscript, Charles Bridges. It contains my whole life. Pain and joy. Triumphs and disappointments. I didn't know if anyone would ever read it, but I had to. Because that way I would leave something real behind me. I also found the courage to talk to the children. I invited everyone to dinner. I cooked it myself, slowly, carefully. I put on the table everyone's favorite dishes, barbecue ribs for John, broccoli casserole for Linda, pumpkin pie that Martha had made for him for Michael. They came and watched in amazement as I set the table. I sat down in front of them, took out the manuscript, and said, I want you to know me. Not just as your dad, but as a man you may never have fully seen. We talked late into the night. Michael cried. Linda hugged me like we did when we were kids. John sighed and said, Dad, I'm sorry we lost you a little. I said, I never lost you. I was just waiting for us to find each other again. From that moment on, things started to change. My grandchildren started coming over more often. One of them, Jacob, even asked if he could read my notes for his school project. They started asking questions. They started listening. I also started teaching a short course in the same library called How to Be a Father. I wasn't teaching how to change diapers or how to choose a school. I was talking about the heart. About responsibility. About being present. I said, being the best dad doesn't mean having all the answers. It means being there, even when you don't know what to say. It means listening, accepting, and to give without a trace. I no longer wake up with an emptiness in my chest. I live. With wrinkles, with a stick, with a pain in my back, but with an open heart. And this is my choice. I did not let loneliness bury me. I opened the door, and life entered again. Now, as I sit on the same park bench where it all began, holding a thermos of tea and a notebook on my lap, I understand, aging is not decline, but transformation. It is not loss, but rethinking. And dignity is not something that others give you. It is something you carry within yourself. I am not young. But I am alive. And in every wrinkle of mine is history. In every gray hair is a day when I loved someone, protected someone, created something. I no longer wait for calls. I receive them. I no longer hope that they will remember me, they will invite me. I no longer feel unnecessary, because I am building bridges again. My most important bridge is the one I built between myself and my children. I have learned to accept them new, adults, busy, but still relatives. And they learn to see me again not just as an old person, but as the heart of our family. The center. The source of memory. Martha always told me, Karl, your strength is in your gentleness. And she was right. I have cried a lot lately, not from pain, but from gratitude. For the fact that life gave me a chance for a second wind. I want to address those who are young, remember your elders. They are your living archives. They are the roots without which a tree will not grow. Don't wait for a holiday to call. Don't look for an excuse to come. Just be there. And listen. Because when you listen, you accept the inheritance. And if you ever think that your father is silent, that your grandfather grumbles or repeats himself, remember, maybe he just wants to be heard. For someone to say, I remember, Dad. I'm listening, Grandpa. And also, be the best parents you can be. Not perfect. But real. Love unconditionally. Accept with a smile. Be an example, not a critic. Because in the end, when you sit on your bench by the lake, like I do now, you won't want to count money or medals. You'll want to remember the days when you were hugged, when you were listened to, when you were next to those you love. Life is short. But there is always room for warmth in it. A motivational phrase that I now say to everyone who asks how to live: it's never too late to open your heart, even if it's covered in wrinkles.
Subscribe and like and tell your friends about this video.